reveals a much larger issue with creators. My thoughts on the EO situation. I would actually love to know Solo's thoughts on what happened with EO, but more importantly, content creators in general.
About this drama because, I mean, honestly, it's preschool
Okay, we have a lot of dislikes, so I am curious what he said.
behavior. Like, we have a person upset that they didn't win a tournament and then lashing out, and then another guy trying to defend his ego. Like, this is baby stuff. Can we all please recognize this right now?
I would like to say, I think Pokey had a perfectly valid reason to being upset, considering that his partner in a situation that could have netted them $5,000 didn't do their best in a tournament. I think that's not really baby stuff, personally. Me personally. Maybe $5,000 is chump change to somebody else, but where I'm at right now with my money, I could use 5K.
The fact that a tournament being hosted, something, you know, that's supposed to bring people together, has devolved
I
into
wouldn't really say a tournament is meant to bring people together like some solidaric Boy Scouts campfire situation. I would more so say it's to pit people against each other, to be honest.
a actual drama, if you can even call it that, of course, is really kind of sad. Now, as for why I'm coming out to talk about this drama, seeing as I believe it to be preschool behavior, simply put, there is a creator who is involved in this, and over the course of the last 4 months, I have watched him slowly destroy his reputation, and now I want to talk.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It is crazy how much EO could save his reputation by merely taking his hands off the keyboard. But man, he loves to type. Like, man loves to type. But like every time he sends one of these messages, like his reputation goes further down the drain. It's insane. And people have told him this, and he keeps doing it. I don't get it.
About why that happened. To make something as crystal clear as possible at the start of this video, though, I am not here to play armchair therapist.
Okay.
I ain't taking anybody's side, and I definitely am not trying to give IO an out here. Firstly, doesn't matter what I do, this guy's gonna have to deal with the problem himself. Secondly, as I have alluded to in the past, I don't take sides, regardless of who the creator is, because ultimately, the only thing I stand to gain is a dead-end relationship with a mildly influential person. And
true! And he gets it! Let's fucking go, Solo! He fucking gets it, Solo. There is so little motherfuckers on this app that give a fuck about anybody. It's like nobody. And even the real ones, their lives are most likely too full to want to pursue another internet relationship. So him acknowledging this shit is huge. Like, this is huge character growth. I wish more people would get this shit. Dude, fuck, that was based. God damn.
And thirdly, while I am not an armchair therapist and I don't exactly know what happens in IO's head, I can say that as somebody—
So, sorry, I get a little bit proud. I get a little bit proud of Solo. I've known this guy since, like, pretty much day one of where his career started booming. So, I've understood, like, how much this guy has had to overcome, and like, oh, that's cool, man. That's going to be so good for his mental that he realizes that it's pretty much pointless to befriend 99.99999% of content creators.
Who makes content in this space and has gone through something relatively similar recently, I have a pretty good idea what's happening in his head. So for starters, the drama itself, it's really not that deep. Basically, there was a tournament, IO didn't max out his traces, he threw, Pokey gets pissed, IO gets in his feelings, it all kind of goes from there. And again, the details might be foggy, some of that might be—
Okay, why does every single video I see of Honkai Starro have Gallagher built? Is he, like, insane or something? Like, is he that good? Guys, if this video gets 5,000 likes, I will build a Gallagher.
wrong, but ultimately that's the gist of what happened. Now since then, IO has been being IO and going out and defending himself from a lot of criticism, and it's very obvious that all these people are getting in his feelings, and now you have a lot of people like making fun of him or trying to say he's stupid or just a lot of stuff like that. Now what I'm gonna say next is a lot different from the general consensus.
Sure, now I will say, I do think there is a big difference between making fun of someone and attempting to hurt someone's feelings, right? I think intent is all that matters. I think a lot of people who are saying negative edge and Clara canceling are kind of just playing along, right? But I think the people saying EO's retarded, he needs to destroy and quit being a content creator, I don't think those people are being very nice, right? But I don't want to guilt anybody for playing along with the meme that he himself exacerbated.
Of other content creators, and that's because I feel as though they're lacking a bit of context as to how things got to this point.
Okay.
So bear with me, I'm going to try and do a little bit of explaining, alright?
Okay.
So you'll often find in discussions about this, a lot of people will view IO as someone with this insurmountable ego, you know, something like that. And because he has this ego, and he's too stupid to recognize his own flaws, he's going to go out of his way to defend himself from literally everything, no matter how minor. And to the other content creators' credit, assuming that you are looking at this from a recent lens, it does seem like that, because IO comes across as a pompous ass. He defends himself from people with like 3 followers on Twitter and no clout, and he has a real hard time admitting that he ever does anything wrong. And all of these are things that, regardless of what I say in this video, are absolutely true. And if people want to flame and or dunk on him for that, that's completely fine. Now, obviously, I'm not going to encourage anyone who goes out of their way to, you know, fuck with somebody, but I mean, hey, I can't stop you. It's the internet. Now, all that being said, that is the interpretation that people are often getting, but I don't think that's the case. I don't really have any reason to believe IO has this insurmountable ego, especially in the face of other creators like Tectone and Gotcha Smack. And don't get me wrong, every creator out here has an ego, a fucking course we do. I mean, have you seen what we do? I mean, God knows gotcha games are a totem to stand on top of proudly. Jokes aside, I honestly believe that the reason IO got to this point has a lot to do with a specific series of events that happened around 4 months ago and that continued to happen and that he really never learned to deal with. For those of you out of the loop, I don't expect you to understand this next part, but for creators in the space who have actually, you know, been through this point, you'll probably agree with me, or at least a lot of you will, especially if you're around the size of my channel. When you first started being a creator,
I really wouldn't worry about people whether they agree with you or not. I would worry about just say what you need to say.
and trust me, this is going to lead somewhere. There is stages of your career. You know, when you first start, you try figuring stuff out, and then after a while, you start to get comments, and it's always a pretty good experience, but occasionally you get this really negative one. Now, at first, you see this negative comment, and you think to yourself, hey, yo, that's pretty cool, that's funny, this guy actually cares enough to hate me, and you give him like a snarky reply, and you go on with your day. However, as time goes on, and as your channel continues to grow, you will keep getting negative comments, to the point where it's very hard to focus on anything that's not negative. And this will start happening around like, I'd say about 7,000 subscribers, and it's just gonna keep getting worse. And
I don't really think subscriber count means anything. It's more like how many views your videos are getting, because subscriber count means nothing.
Eventually, at around like the 10k to 20 or 30k point, depending on your channel's growth, you're gonna have to adapt. There is going to come a part in your YouTube career where you will genuinely feel as though a vast majority of your comments have become negative, and that's because that is exactly what's happening. You are now officially important enough in the space to hate. And when this happens, you as a creator have to deal with it. You have to think to yourself, well, this is a problem, now what can I do? Now, oftentimes, and I'm not kidding about this, it gets exponentially worse in the summer seasons, and this is because a lot.
Because the kids are out from school! Woo! Yes, sir!
A lot of the kids who go to school now have nothing better to do with their lives except to ruin the enjoyment of people online. Lo and behold, over the span of the last 4 months, you likely noticed that a lot of different creators were having a lot of different problems with their comments. There's a specific person I follow on Twitter, I think it's like Captain Sparkles or something like that. It's not that, I definitely just bastardized that.
The British VTuber with the massive fucking tits. In real life and in their model. Yeah,
but recently,
Boobs McGee.
They've been talking about it. I know Hex has also talked about it. Tectone was on edge for a while and he beefed with Gotcha Smack and Hex Juice. And even I myself, I took a month-long break because I was like, nah.
Once again, I really don't think the beef was between Gotcha Smack and Hex. I actually agree with Solo here that a lot of the community exacerbated the situation, and then when other retards came in to weigh in on their 2 cents, not understanding that it was just a community issue, not a us issue, that made things a lot worse. Because the moment Hex and I got into a call, we hashed it out. The moment Smack and I got into a call, we hashed it out. But it's when these other dumb fucks are like, oh, this is my take on what happened. When in reality, it's just like, there's literally no issues. Just the community's being fucking stupid because the kiddies are out from school. No, I 100% agree with this. Good take, dude. Solo has grown up quite a bit.
Fuck this shit, I got better stuff to do. And this often happens around this time. But lo and behold, here we have Io, who instead of, doing what a lot of us did and taking a break or trying to calculate, we have this man over here continuing to work, continuing to do his thing, and now, well, he became the...
I mean, Hex was almost crying at the end. Okay. And now we're meeting up at TwitchCon. So what's your point? And also, secondly, women. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. You can let me know what I said was that horrible, but here's the thing. You cannot judge someone's actions based on how someone else reacted to that action. Okay? You can only judge someone based on their intent of that action. Okay? I would like to quote a great moment where I attempted to give Enviosity money to wail on Genshin Impact, and he cried. Now, was I the bad guy for offering him money, or was he the bitch? You see what I'm saying? Right? Like, the only thing that matters is the person's intent. So otherwise, everything's going to be a very slippery slope, right? Because, like, for example, if you want to put the reactionary in charge, that means any girl that you ever go up to and say, hi, miss, how you doing? Can start screaming sexual assault, and then your ass is in jail. And that's why intent matters. That's why things that are premeditated are more heavily punished by law. You can't give the power to people's emotions and reactions. You have to put power in what the person's intent was and what actually happened. Okay? So what I'm saying is, don't be a bitch. And Hex Juice, in case you're watching this, can't wait to see you at TwitchCon. Love you. Cool. Let's keep going. It's not black and white with Smack, for example. Sure, audience was a factor, but you also fucked up for what you apologized for. Okay. Well, okay, so what did I fuck up with? If you're like, let me know, what did I fuck up with? You apologized to him that you reacted to his video while being in a bad mood and not answering his DMs. Yes. And he also apologized for the way that he acted in that situation. The problem with your comment is when you say it's not black and white, you fucked up, you have to understand what happened was, and I had already stated this, was a small fuck up on both parties that was exacerbated by the community, right? So work on your sentence structure. But what you just said is essentially what I said, but way more dumb, right? So just work on that and grow as a person.
Problem. So people who don't understand how YouTube works will try and say stuff to the effect of, oh, just ignore it, or pretend it's not there, but that's not how it works. You see, as you will often know when it comes down to stuff like leaks in your favorite game, you're always going to peek between your fingers to see what's happening. But now, I want you to take that feeling of curiosity and I want you to amplify it, because now the discussion isn't around a topic you like, the discussion is happening around you yourself. So not looking at your comments is a very hard thing to do as a creator.
True.
But what's even
it is very difficult to not look at your comments, especially when you're starting. I would actually say a lot of deaths of channels can happen if they don't read the comments. The problem is when people let their comments control what they're doing as a creator.
Even harder than that is avoiding them in the event that you decide you no longer want to see them, because YouTube Studios always shoves the 3 most common comments in your face. And what's really funny is that more often than not, your biggest fans will be the first to comment and your biggest detractors will be the last. This means that unless a video has been uploaded very recently, you will likely see 3 negative comments when you open YouTube Studios. Now take what I said and you put all these problems together and suddenly we have ourselves this really effective recipe at taking someone who would otherwise be sensible and turning them into an unlikable piece of shit. And again,
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. when you upload a YouTube video and the comments are so fucking dumb, like, dude, this one. Oh my God. Dude. Solo, you dog. This one right here. I was forced to wail to clear this new event. Motherfuckers got caught up in their feelings over this fucking title. Oh my God. Like, the comments are insane. Motherfucker was not forced. Bro, you weren't forced. You just don't want to read. 90% of bro's problems would have been resolved in Red Gallagher. Like, they tell you it was so easy. Forced. It's the easiest as ever. Bitch, in the video, I say, I don't feel like reading all that, so I'm a whale. Like, if you watch the video, I literally say what forced means. But instead, y'all motherfuckers getting upset over nothing. Like, damn, bro. Shut the fuck up. Get off me. That being said, thanks for clicking the video. It's annoying that y'all didn't leave a like, though. But, I mean, these people are so dumb, it's insane.
Because I know there's going to be some brainlet in the comments saying, oh, just don't let it bother you. It's not important. All right, will you try throwing...
Also, who cares? Okay, no, I get this. I understand if people would have been angry at that title if it was, you can't beat this stage unless you spend money. Sure, get upset. But me saying, I was forced to spend money to beat this, right? Well, then it's a me issue. And I made it clear that it's a me issue. Because I don't want to fucking think. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, bro. You clickbait every video. How do you do yourself for? Now, that being said, the video title is not clickbait. That video is very correct. Like, the title of that video is very correct, right? But you have to get kind of far into the video to realize that.
Stones at a statue all day and see how long it takes for that thing to break.
Also, I did spend $0, so technically the minus $500 is clickbait. I got that with my currency that was already on my account. I spent $0, so is what it is.
One of them might not be enough, but a few dozen, yeah, you probably put a dent or two in it. Just because somebody is a YouTuber and they get hate every now and again doesn't make them immune to that. And the only way to deal with this problem, at least in my eyes, is to just stop. Like, stop everything. Instead of letting these problems continue to fester and continue to acknowledge them, I genuinely believe the best thing to do if you feel as though you are constantly being hated is to just stop. Don't upload, don't do anything, just take a break for like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And as you'll often find, when you let problems sit and you sleep on them for a while, you'll come back and realize, oh wow, this isn't nearly as insurmountable as I originally viewed it to be. Now,
okay, so here's my theory. 3 days off, the 72-hour rule is good for the internet to let shit go, as well as for you to be able to mental process and do a quick refresh. 72 hours is huge. I wouldn't say a month, that's insane. Or you can do what I do, which is upload even more and drown out these motherfuckers bitching. I prefer that one quite a bit. I like drowning the dumb fucks out and seeing how long their attention span can possibly get them to keep up their dumb shit.
I'm saying all of this to let you know what it's like being a creator, and to let you know what IO has been dealing with. Now, to put into perspective how bad it is and why all this matters, is because I believe that initially IO didn't particularly care about the negativity. However, as he continued to get comments, especially the ones telling him he was wrong about things that at the time he was probably right about.
Alright, Revless. Hey, mods, ban anybody that's talking about another person's stream. Doesn't matter who. Just ban him.
He started to get extremely defensive, and because he was defensive, he felt as though he always had to be on guard. So eventually what was happening is he was genuinely wrong, and because he was on the offensive, he didn't really have the hindsight to recognize his own mistakes. So what initially became him defending himself for being in the right would then become him defending himself for being in the wrong, because he was too up his own ass to actually accept justified criticism.
True.
And this led to the last two dramas relating to him, where now he is in a position where he died on the wrong hill. I believe that this is not necessarily a result of ego, it is the result of somebody who has not allowed himself the time to simmer down over the course of the last few months, and instead thought that continuing to bury himself in the work that he was doing would be the best distraction. And because of that, he only continued to amplify the amount of hate he got, which would then in turn make him feel as though he had to respond because he was defensive, and what do you know, we create created ourselves a lovely little self-destructive cycle. And until the day comes where
Now, I will say, everything that Solo has said in this video, I have already said on Twitter. And I will also show you that I have proof of that. So I just want to make sure that this issue, I have already said verbatim. Because another creator was attempting to defend EO's actions. And I had to make that very clear that he is his own doing, which is right here. V tweeted out, I learned something yesterday. People need to express themselves out of making fun of that, as tempting as fun as it is. It's ultimately not right. We are human. The more emotion is strong, the stronger we need to express ourselves. Excuse for EO for being human, I guess. That's not how it is at all. He should not vent on social media. Social media comments are the crux of his stress. Venting on social media, backlash on him venting because of what he says. Needing to vent more backlash. It's a never-ending cycle. I have already said all of this prior. This video came after this tweet, right? The video was 5 days ago. That tweet was 10 days ago. This video is 5 days ago. But it makes me very happy that Solo understands this, right? Because the worst thing that we can do is continue to support someone's destructive behavior by just saying, oh, they're just a goofy, quirky little guy. Apologies for him for having a bad day. The problem is it hasn't been a bad day. It's been like a bad year and it just keeps fucking happening. Right? And until something drastic happens, it's going to continue, the cycle is going to continue to perpetuate over and over and over again.
something changes and he stops doing this shit, it's not going to fix itself.
True.
I believe that this whole IO preschool drama tournament bullshit stems from a man who feels as though he has to defend himself on things that he probably shouldn't have ever had to.
True.
In other words, I believe situations are far more nuanced than just the immediate of what you see. And again, I could be wrong about a vast majority of this, but at least in my experience, as somebody who, lived through these very same problems, I say this with relative certainty. Had the gotcha cast gone well for me back in the day, or even if, let's just pretend that my channel was around the size of IO, I would be in the exact same dramas right now if it wasn't for, the last month that I took to myself. And that is why, as you have all likely noticed, the second I came back from that break, there was a very drastic shift in the overall tone. So to that I say, do me a favor and cut IO some slack. Yeah, sure, he's a clown. He did dig this hole himself, but I don't think he's unsalvageable or anything. I think he's genuinely a good guy who's had to deal with a lot of bullshit and he just doesn't know how to handle it.
So here's the problem, right? I totally agree with cutting EO some slack. The problem is that it's very scary to deal with someone who deals with hate this poorly. It's very, very, very scary. And as a content creator, you have to measure who you think is a liability or not, right? Because I was totally cool with EO as well, until he was talking about leaking like the shit that we talk about in the Gotcha Discord server, which is supposed to be a place for content creators just to be able to say whatever the fuck they want. It just got really weird, right? And knowing that someone is that self-destructive is it's just not that good. It's just really not good.
Also, don't want to sound woke, but as a dude, and again, trust me, not the woke mob, it is something I've observed and I've read about in my psychology classes. As a dude, it's usually not very socially acceptable to talk about your problems with anyone. It's kind of like this...
That's fair, but I don't think this is necessarily related.
Weird hush-hush attitude where suffering in silence is preferred, and when you express emotions, it
I disagree. I don't think this is opting to have EO suffer in silence. I think it's for him to just vent in a place that's safer for him rather than bitch to people who he knows don't like him and expecting sympathy.
Comes across as being like needy or weak. And I'm not even talking about like bad emotions, it can even be good ones. Like for example, I know for a fact most creators in this scene who are dudes, if you go up to them and you express like joy or you say you look up to them, that bigger creator is probably going to hear you say that and cringe. They might not tell you in the moment, but you saying how much that you like them is probably just cause enough for them to be like, ugh, oh god, okay, please don't tell me that. Now with all that being...
This is a correct point, but I also think it's completely unrelated to anything that has previously happened, personally.
Said, Io, I know you're watching this because you can't help but tune in whenever you hear somebody talking. I think you just need to go and you need to take a break for a few weeks, like 1 or 2 weeks, maybe 3. Like what?
I agree. Sure.
Didn't you say a while ago you played FF14? Maybe go back and do that for a little while. I mean, that's what I did. I've been running dungeons for like the last month and a half. But whatever you do, you can't keep on.
Guys, I'm gonna take a firm stance against this video. Do not play Final Fantasy 14. That game is ass. Okay? And even if the game is good, it will in fact destroy your life.
Like this, and I know in your head you're probably thinking, but if I leave YouTube, that means that my channel is gonna be dead when I come back. No, it won't. I left for a month, and I came back to triple my views, and the algorithm's not gonna magically forget your place in it because you just disappeared for a few months.
Well, I will say that's not entirely true. For trend-based channels, like gacha channels that rely on making content during the peak of certain games, if you do take a couple months off and you were a trend-based channel, that could just completely evaporate any chance that you had to cash in while you had the opportunity. So this comment is a little bit skewed, but I understand it coming from Solo's perspective. But yeah, that's necessarily not true. However, I do think it is better to let your channel die a little bit and get your mental health reset rather than force your channel to die by being a retard.
Internet Historian, Thaf9, and a bunch of other video essay channels are gone for sometimes years at a time, and they come back to the same audience. It doesn't work like that. I think
well, that's because they're not trend-based channels, right?
that's about it, though. Just wanted to try and offer a different perspective besides...
Especially guide-making channels, right? And so I just want to correct that from Solo's base information. Because EO's a guide channel, he does need to, like, get the content out first. Because for guides, whoever gets the first guide out first is going to get the most views, because when are people going to get the guide? The moment the content comes out. Like, you can't release a guide for 3-month-old content because people have already beaten that shit. So a lot of good points in that video. Also, W Solo for making a comeback, man. Good fucking yapper, bro. Yapping it up. The yapper's back. Feels good, man. Love that dude. All jokes aside.